Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast, the channel for film reviews, discussions and everything in between. I'm Chris Garner, joined my co-host for today, George Aldridge, and today we are going to be reviewing Tarantino's 8th movie, I believe it is. The Hateful Eight came out earlier in January for us, and we're a bit late to the party on this one, but we wanted to get a review out for it for definite, because any Tarantino movie that comes out is basically like an event film. Tate can't make it to this one, unfortunately. I posted on our Twitter page. He's got a throat infection. He's still fighting that off, so it'll be me and George until Tate's ready to come back to the reviews. He basically told us to say what he thought of the movie. He said it's pretty much just a Tarantino movie, and I think me and you are pretty much identical on that as well.
Yeah, it's... Oh, we'll go into more detail, but yeah. You know what you're going to get.
Got room for one more? They call him the hangman. When the handbill says dead or alive, the rest of us just shoot you in the back, come up on top of a perch somewhere and bring you in dead over a saddle. But when John Roof, the hangman, catches you, you hang. Get in, boys!
This here is Daisy Domergue. She's wanted dead or alive for murder. When that sun comes out, I'm taking this woman to hang. Is there anybody here committed to stopping me from doing that?
Well. Looks like Minnie's haberdashery is about to get cozy for the next few days.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so as always, we'll start off with a spoiler-free, and then we'll get into the spoilers later on, but we'll let you know when we're going to get into that. We're sort of discussing beforehand, it's obviously a huge, massively released film, but there's not really a lot to talk about it, but we're going to do our best anyway. So, yeah, spoiler-free. I remember when the script came out of this, and there was that whole hullabaloo that went along with it where, you know, Tarantino was working on a new film. It's called The Hateful Eight, and then someone leaked the script. I think it was one of the agents of one of the cast members or something. And then Tarantino basically went on a strop and said, like, I am not making this movie. This will be the one film of mine you'll never see. Threw his dolly out the pram, and then obviously since then he cooled down a bit. I think he changed the ending, and then he came back to it. I actually haven't read that original script, so I don't know how much was changed, but I'm glad that he actually made this one, and this was one, to be honest, that I was looking forward to for a long time, because I'm a huge fan of westerns, spaghetti westerns and everything like that. I heard that Kurt Russell was going to be the main character in it. I heard that Ennio Morricone was doing the soundtrack, so after that I was pretty much sold. So what were your thoughts before going into it, would you say?
I was excited in the sense that it's a new Tarantino film. I was really looking forward to it. Then when the first trailer came out, it was very... This looks exactly like Reservoir Dogs meets Django Unchained. So going in, like, the hype was down. I was still looking forward to it because I know I'm going to like the film. It's a Tarantino film. Then there wasn't this excitement that I had with Django or Inglourious Basterds. And I think that's kind of played out with my whole opinions of the film. It's just a Tarantino film, and that's the best I can say. Like, the Ennio Morricone stuff's great. There's a good chance I'll win the Oscar. And speaking of Oscars, the nominations are out. And this would be part of Oscar season. It's got 3 nominations, but something like this, you'd expect maybe 6 or 7, especially how his other films have gone in the past few years. But again, it just wasn't really his year, money-wise, the box office too. Yeah,
definitely, and I think you were pretty much on the money right there, where you said it's a Western version of Reservoir Dogs. It's difficult to rank the Tarantino films because I always keep flip-flopping between which one's my favourite one. Right now, I would probably say that my all-time favourite is Reservoir Dogs, followed by Pulp Fiction and then Kill Bill probably. But no, it's pretty much Reservoir Dogs in a Western setting with sort of the aesthetic of Django Unchained, really. I think those are probably his 2 previous ones that are closely knit to this one. But yeah, it was kind of weird when the Oscar nominations rolled out, actually. I was expecting this to get a lot more because it had a lot of buzz around it. Reviews were pretty solid all across the board. And then it's really not all that up for much. It's not up for Best Picture or Tarantino as directing, or even what shocked me the most was original screenplay. Yeah, I think that Django won that when that came out, as well as a supporting actor for Christoph Waltz. So to see a Tarantino movie not get nominated for screenplay was a huge thing for me, and I think that was a pretty big snub this year, actually, because say what you want about this film, but the screenplay is still on par.
Yeah, and it's one of the strengths, and this is what annoyed me with the nominations. Everyone's talking about the lack of diversity, which there is an awful case for it. Quite frankly, I think this year's Oscars have been probably, in all honesty, the shittest I've seen in years.
Yeah.
All of it, that from top to bottom, has been absolute massacre. The only good thing going for it's Mad Max and The Revenant. But with this, you look at original screenplays. This is an original screenplay. Straight Outta Compton's nominated. Great, love that film. That's not an original screenplay. That should be adapted. It's a biopic. There's history there. That should be shunned to the other one. And there was one more which I've forgotten, which again was not original at all. It will come back to my mind in a bit. But this should have been nominated for Best Original Screenplay. It's absolutely a joke that it hasn't.
Yeah, and I mean that's not the only problems that the film's faced as well. I mean we could talk about it later, but I think we could talk about it now if you want to go more in depth into it. The whole thing about cinemas like pulling out of it or not showing it properly. I know that it was done in a 70mm film, and there's only one cinema that shows that kind of film, apparently, isn't there? If you want to go more in depth into that.
Yeah, it's in the UK. In America, they're doing a roadshow. There's a lot of projectors still, hence Interstellar doing screenings over there. In England, there's 2 or 3 screenings in the country that can do them. One of them's Leicester Square Odeon, which is the one where everyone's seen pictures of premieres. It's the biggest cinema in the country. So they kind of said, we'll be showing it on 70mm projection here. This is the special edition that's a bit longer, so on, so on. Then one of our main retailers, Cineworld, pulled it from all their cinemas because they refuse to show it at a cinema in Leicester Square that's got 1,000 less seats than the Odeon, saying, this is unfair. And they've come out looking like idiots. They've had a lot of complaints because they have an unlimited card, which is their main selling point, and you can't even watch one of the biggest films of the year in terms of film fans that would be paying for these unlimited cards. And it's just a mess, and it would have contributed a little bit of money missing out, but again, as I said earlier, this is one of his weakest films in terms of box office. Whether or not it's because it's come out so close to Star Wars, I don't know, but it's just one of them.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that myself. I mean, the budget was done on 44mm. It's currently made 66mm, so it's made a profit and all that, but it is quite a modest hit for a Tarantino movie. Now I'm thinking back to it, Django did come out around the same time, I think, in was that a 2012 movie that came out, I think?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's gone quick. But yeah, that was around January time, but it really didn't have any competition. This year, especially like December, you obviously had a little film called Star Wars, so it couldn't go up against that, and then January, you've also got another big Western that visually sort of looks very similar in The Revenant. And I mean, everyone's talking about The Revenant at the minute. Like, people, at my workplace, even just like casual people, are just saying, they can't wait for The Revenant. DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, everything like that. And the trailers to that look phenomenal. So this one's sort of been a little bit of a sleeper of a film, really. It's sort of come out, a few people have gone to see it, but no one's really talking about it all that much. And general consensus from what I've heard is that, yeah, it's a fun film. It's a Tarantino film. You know what you're getting in for. And I mean, that's how we opened our review as well. So he's not really much different with this film. I don't know whether bringing out another Western film straight after Django was the right move. I mean, I'm not bad-mouthing this film. I know we haven't really got into the review in depth yet, but I do think that I would have liked to have seen maybe something a bit stylistically different than Django for his next film. I don't know if you thought that it was a bit too similar when this was coming out, or maybe that was just me.
No, it was very similar. It just felt like something I've seen before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really like Tarantino. He's one of my favourite directors. But this film just kind of felt in your face that it's a Tarantino film more than any of us have done before. And it just didn't feel very special.
No, and one of the things from it as well, maybe it's because I've only seen it the once, but even from the trailers of Django, there was quotable dialogue there. There was like the whole Leonardo DiCaprio character where he says, like, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. There was something you could remember. There is one great, just phenomenal monologue in this film, which we'll get into in the spoiler section. But besides that, there's really not a lot of memorable quotable dialogue I can think of from this film. And maybe, as I said, it's just because I've seen it the once, but it doesn't quite feel up to the standards of previous Tarantino movies, I'd say. It'd be difficult to say where I'd rank this one currently. I think right now I enjoy Django a little bit more. I still had a lot of problems with Django, but I think that just as a film overall, that was a lot stronger. But the plot to this one, for anyone who doesn't know, it's on the IMDb. It's got: in the dead of Wyoming winter, a bounty hunter and his prisoner find shelter in a cabin currently inhabited by a collection of nefarious characters. So when I heard this premise, I was actually really on board for it, because it was sort of like a whodunit, like a murder mystery, maybe sort of like a Western version of the film Clue with like Tim Curry or something like that. And I love plots like that. After seeing it, one of my problems with it is that, unlike other Tarantino movies, it feels like a one and done. Like, as soon as you know who's behind it all, I think that would take away quite a lot on a second viewing, because you know exactly where it's going. Because part of the excitement is try to work it out for yourself, like who's behind it all, who's working with who's double crossing everyone. And I think that was a cool aspect the film had going for it. But sort of when the film halfway through shows you who it is, I think that it starts to decline a little bit after that.
Yeah, the bit I was going to say was almost a spoiler, so I can't, but there's an instant where this film's kind of split up into 5 chapters similar to Pulp Fiction. I think, is it chapter 3 or... I think it might be chapter 4. It kind of recaps chapter 3.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying because it's Tarantino being smug about what he's done. And what proceeds from that, you're kind of thinking, if you'd have left it, it would be far better as a plot point, and you've wasted 5 minutes now. Going off and already... I don't mind long films, but I think this was unnecessary long.
Yeah. And we got the shorter cut as well. I think
Yeah.
we got the 167 minutes. Somewhere out there's a cut that's 20 minutes extra, which just boggles my mind right now. I don't know where the hell that 20 minutes is going to be placed or distributed throughout the movie, but we were talking before we hit record, and I think general consensus is that first act, like the first maybe 2 chapters, really, really slow. And I know you could say it's character building, sort of world building, because, I mean, the cinematography does look absolutely gorgeous in this movie, and you feel cold with the characters, like it feels lived in. It feels like a really harsh environment, but it is really, really slow. It is plodding, and it did sort of feel like, to me, like Peter Jackson's King Kong, where they're on the boat for so long at the start. You just kind of, let's get to the cabin, or in the case of King Kong, let's get to the island, let's see it. I did get a little bit restless towards the start of this, but it definitely did pick up after the first act, I think.
Yeah, once you get into the cabin, it's great. It's entertaining. It's just the openings. It's very repetitive. The sort of opening segments, and it does the right amount of character building, but maybe just a bit too much of it sometimes. But again, it's just a Tarantino screenplay. He's writing in his own world, and he's gonna do whatever he wants to do because he's got the powers to do that. So there's a bit of credit to be said, but
yeah. I
mean, it sounds like I'm bashing it. I did like this film, but it's probably the toughest Tarantino film I've ever sat through.
Yeah, it does. I think that this film might be better with an interval in place. The one I saw, it didn't have an interval in it. It's just sort of beginning to end. But I know that some cinemas are adding in an intermission halfway through, which I think would be the best way to see this film. So yeah, I guess we could talk a bit about the characters more in depth now. So Kurt motherfucking Russell. What a legend. One of my favourite actors of all time, whether it's in John Carpenter's The Thing or Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York, everything. He's always entertaining, and he's one of those actors that sadly sort of dropped off the map a little bit. Like, I'm sure he's doing like littler projects and sort of like indie films and everything like that, but Kurt Russell is such an amazing talent, and you see him in this again, and it's almost like I'm watching Kurt Russell from the 80s again. He's just the man. He's on fine form. He was used in a previous Tarantino movie. He was in Death Proof. And I've always wanted to see him return in another Tarantino movie. Thankfully, we got him here, and he's sort of... Would you say he's the main character? I think he's definitely up there with Samuel Jackson.
I'd say Samuel Jackson and Kurt Russell together. I can't say much else yet.
Yeah.
I would say he is now a part of the Fast and Furious franchise.
He is,
so
yeah.
I'm guessing that he'll be in Fast and Furious 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, till whenever the hell they want to stop finishing.
I really hope he is. He's one of those actors that I really want to see make a comeback. It was like last year, it was Michael Keaton with Birdman. This year, it's Kurt Russell for me. He's just fantastic, and his character's great as well. He plays the guy, the bounty hunter. Bring him back. Let's find a name. Daisy Domergue. Yeah.
Oh, the prisoner.
Yeah. Yeah, he's called the Hangman because any prisoner he gets, he makes sure that they hang. And I thought his relationship with the prisoner was pretty cool. Like every second he gets is sort of like elbow her in the face or something. You can tell that he's gone through absolute hell to try and get this prisoner back, and she's just causing shit the whole time. And that brings us on to the character of Daisy, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, up for supporting actress, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were sort of saying before, like, we don't know whether she's that good, like Oscar worthy of a supporting actress. I did find her very entertaining though. She's just absolutely just batshit insane the whole way through the film. You sort of see that from the trailer as well. She's very quirky, and there's a lot of scene where she's just looking really menacing, where she's got like just a mouthful of blood and she's just like grinning through it. Looks absolutely demented. So I thought she played that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's so limited that she's doing a really good job. And like, I mean, in the trailer, she's like, "This is my victim" or something, and she like waves and points a gun at her head or something, and she's got this quirkiness to her. And then towards the end is when she starts getting dialogue. You see how menacing, but you kind of come out of the like, you know, I'd rather she spoke more or something like that. But as the plot unravels, it makes sense for her to speak more. I think she's great in it, but Oscar-wise, I don't know. It'd be the wrong podcast to say, but I think it felt more or less, we'll nominate you because you're in Tarantino's film.
No,
although
absolutely.
we won't nominate Samuel L. Jackson, who was the best thing about this one.
Oh, let's get on to Samuel L. Jackson. Wow, this is, I would say...
I'd say it's better than Pulp Fiction, his performance in this.
See, Pulp Fiction's such a classic for me. I don't think I could say that. But I really liked him in Django as well. That's the thing. I thought he played a really, really funny character in that one. But in all honesty, I would say this is his second best performance of all time I've seen Samuel Jackson in. Pulp Fiction's always going to be that number one for me, just from that "and you will know my name is the Lord" monologue. But he is just great all the way through this. And as I say, like when we get to spoilers, we'll be talking about his monologue from this movie. You bet your bottom dollar we're going to talk about that. But he is so good in this movie, like whether he's playing off Kurt Russell, but he's sort of his own man in this movie as well. He's got his own agenda, he's got his own motives, and I'm trying to find the guy. This isn't giving too much away, but he has this relationship with this old guy, because it's all to do with the Civil War. We didn't do Civil War in history, so I'm a bit hazy on it.
We're not American.
No.
It's really nothing to us.
But this old guy was like fighting on the opposite side, and to see their relationship throughout the movie as well, that was probably some of my favourite stuff in this movie.
Yeah, and I can't speak about a monologue yet, but you get the dynamic of where I think the old guy's I think they call him General.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the actor now.
Oh, it's Bruce Dern.
Bruce Dern, yeah.
And
the Confederate, yeah.
It's kind of, you know, they just randomly meet, and Samuel L. Jackson's well aware of who he is, and there's a bit of backstory they go down, but the dynamic is where Samuel L. Jackson's character has a letter of Abraham Lincoln, and everyone in the film is just massive on, oh my god, how did you get one? Tarantino brings up his favourite N-word.
A whole bunch of times, yeah.
Not as much as Django, but it's a different film in the sense. But Samuel L. Jackson, I just... The characters are great. I mean, the opening scenes where you immediately like him, and as the film comes on, Samuel L. Jackson, he is kind of playing himself again, but he's just amazing. I can't really talk about it in too much detail, but I would happily see a spin-off film with him on his own, just being a bounty hunter.
We know how it ultimately ends, though. That's the thing, and oh boy, does it end completely bizarre, and I didn't see that coming. But yeah, we'll save the rest for Samuel L. Jackson when we get to the spoilers. Other characters you've got in it, you've got Walter Goggins, you've got Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, all really brilliant actors actually in these parts. Some of my favourite characters were these sort of smaller side characters, but with Tim Roth, you could tell that role was originally intended for Christoph Waltz. Like, I think that in the original cast, when it was announced, when the original draft of the script was leaked, Christoph Waltz was meant to be in it, and I can only imagine that this is the character he would have been playing. Just in Tim Roth's mannerisms, how he delivers the dialogue, it's very much in the style of Christoph Waltz from Inglourious Bastards or Django. I don't know whether ultimately, because out of the original cast, I think Christoph Waltz is the only one that isn't in this movie. The rest of them were originally cast and are still in it.
I think it's because it was meant to shoot, I think, in 14, but when he pushed it all back and he had the hissy fit, that delayed it by about a year, and at the time of filming, Christoph Waltz is busy doing Spectre, so scheduling-wise he had no chance. But I'm just reading here that the character, that everyone's got a nickname, which they've had an advertising, and Tim Roth is the little man, and Christoph Waltz is tiny in real life, so again that points to it even more.
Yeah.
But with the Tim Roth character, it's not a spoiler as such, but they rewrote the script in the sense that he just gets a Cockney accent out because he's English.
Yeah.
And they rewrote that for him, and it really works in his favour because it is Tim Roth, and Tim Roth's great, except that awful FIFA film he did. But it was nice to see him because I haven't really seen him do a lot since I saw Hulk.
Yeah, that's probably the last thing I saw him in as well. Yeah.
He just doesn't do an awful lot, and it's just great to see him back with Tarantino, and I hope he can use him again because he does work with him, and I love him in Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think now. I think Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction were the last times he's been in a Tarantino movie. I might be wrong, but I think, thinking back to it now, they were the only times
Pulp Fiction.
He's been in. Yeah, Pulp Fiction was the second movie. Yeah. But yeah, it was great to see Tim Roth back, and I knew that I would have liked Tim Roth's character from the very trailer because he's just hilarious in that. Really good to see him back. It's like the same with Kurt Russell. I like that Tarantino does this and brings them back. I'm almost glad that Christoph Waltz wasn't in this movie. That's not a bad thing. That's not a slight against Christoph Waltz, but we've had 2 films back to back now. I believe they were back to back, weren't they? Inglourious Bastards and Django. So it was nice to see someone a little bit different come back into it, and Michael Madsen as well. He is one of the most underrated actors, I think. I think he can bring a real intensity to the role. We saw him in Reservoir Dogs. We saw him in Kill Bill as well as Bud, and I loved him in those movies. He's a really, really great actor. I think he's done a lot of smaller projects now. I won't want to say he's gone off the rails, but if you see him in interviews, he's an interesting character, is Michael Madsen.
He ended up on Celebrity Big Brother, and in terms of celebrity status, that's when things aren't going great. Yeah. In England, I don't know what the Americans like of their celebrity TV shows, but it's not a brilliant sign in England.
No, and it's a shame because he is fantastic. I mean, you look at that one scene in Reservoir Dogs, the famous scene with Stuck in the Middle with You. He plays it so brilliantly, and he doesn't really get much to do in this film. I was a bit upset with that because he sort of gets one scene where you're introduced to his character and he seems really interesting, but all the rest of the times he's sort of just in the background. I would have liked a bit more with his character, and maybe in that 20-minute extra cut, maybe it is more character stuff that we get, and we sort of see more of these characters that we we grow to like throughout the film. So direction, it's pretty much a Tarantino movie. It's very stylized. The opening's very slow. It's very dialogue heavy. You know what you're getting into with a Tarantino movie at this point. It's basically the same as his last couple of films in terms of pacing, I would say. And it doesn't really show you in the trailer, but you still get all the violence. You still get all the blood, so you know what you're getting in for. And I guess that's just his style now. I would like to see Tarantino go back to his original style, like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. That is the Tarantino I want to see come back, because to me, I don't know if you feel the same way, but he sort of made Kill Bill, and then to me, every movie he's made after that, he's tried to recapture the magic of Kill Bill. And it just worked with Kill Bill. And that's not a slight against his other movies. I love Inglourious Bastards. I love this. I love Django. But there's a definite difference in style between his original few films and then Kill Bill onwards.
I think Kill Bill was that kind of seal of acknowledgement of his status. The money he got off that was good enough for I'm guessing it's the Weinstein brothers, because they've done everything for him. I'm guessing that was when he had 800% creative freedom, and once the Oscars started rolling in with Inglourious, it's just more and more freedom to himself, which again I like. I prefer that. Style-wise, I think he's got more violence. Certainly, the violence has changed, but it still seems very much fresh. Like when a Tarantino film is still fresh, and granted, there's been 20 years worth of them. No other director does them like that.
Yeah.
And to his credit, it just shows what he can do with a script and his own stuff. But I don't know. Like I like Kill Bill, but I was never the biggest fan of them. I mean, if I had to rank them, I don't think it'd be my top half.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, mine goes Inglourious, Reservoir, Pulp Fiction, Django. Then it's probably the Kill Bills. I like them. Again, it's a testament to his filmography. But I never really caught the hype to them. I really liked Part 1. It's just Part 2. I know it's technically meant to be one big film, but they are two separate ones, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Volume 1 I loved, and Volume 2 I just never did it for me.
See, I completely get that, and I don't want to make this too much of a Kill Bill review, but Kill Bill was the first Tarantino movie I ever saw, so for that reason it's always got a big place in my heart. I watched it when I was very young, probably shouldn't have watched it, but I don't know. The first one's definitely the more action one, but I kind of find myself watching the second one a lot more. I like that slower pace. Maybe it's because I like westerns, you see, so I like the dialogue and dialogue heavy thing in that movie. I love the scene where she's training up, and I love actually seeing Bill in it. So I find myself watching two quite a lot, but I completely get that they are very different films. So yeah, the direction's pretty much the same here, but with Tarantino, do you really want anything new at this point? Because he always makes, absolute stellar films. Let's talk a bit about the music. So Ennio Morricone, it says here on Wikipedia, this was his first complete Western score in 35 years, and it's been nominated for an Academy Award. I really hope he gets it because I think he deserves it. I was also watching Chris Stuckman's review a while back, and he says that there's a track in this film that plays a couple of times, which was an unreleased track from John Carpenter's The Thing soundtrack, which Morricone also did the soundtrack for. And it was never actually used in the final film for The Thing, and then Tarantino used it in this, so I thought that was pretty cool. I think I did notice it because I think it has a similar sort of musical cue to something from The Thing. But when Tarantino said that this is going to be the first film with a completely original soundtrack, that's not technically true because he does use some of the, not pop songs, but like previously released songs to overlay over the top of scenes. So I don't know if that took me out of the film a bit because it only happened on like one or two occasions. So it was a bit of a sort of like tonal shift. But in terms of the actual soundtrack score, I thought this was fantastic, Ennio Morricone's work in this film.
Yeah, this isn't... I'm big on soundtracks, however, I've actually listened to this since the film, so it didn't have a big impact on me watching it. I didn't really notice anything except on its kind of... the sort of long shots of the mountain and the snow and stuff. I didn't really, kind of get it, but in all honesty, it's a soundtrack I do want to listen to, because they are hyping it for the Oscars, and it is a two-way shootout out of him and Williams.
Definitely, yeah.
But it was kind of great to see him back at. I mean, it's his first Western in 40 odd years, isn't it? And he's never won an Oscar. And it's this divide. The way it's going to go is they're going to give it to John Williams because he's back and because he's doing Star Wars, or they're giving it to Morricone because he's never won one and he should have won one. And that's the way the Oscars work. There's no two doubts about it. It's out of those two. And it'll be great if he wins it, but I'm going to be happy he wins either way.
Yeah, same here. I mean, my thoughts on the Force Awakens score. I didn't find it particularly memorable compared to the other Star Wars films, but I mean, at the end of it, it's John Williams, so if he wins something, I'm going to be happy because he's just one of the best. And Morricone, it's... When I heard that Tarantino was doing a Western film, in my head, obviously, I immediately went to like Good, the Bad, the Ugly soundtrack or any of the Dollars trilogy. It's very, very different to that, though. It's definitely got a unique style, which I think really fits this film. There's not really any of those Western elements to it. I can't really describe it. It's very quirky, but it definitely fits the film. And I mean, if the soundtrack fits the film, then the composer's done a bloody good job as far as I'm concerned. So, as you said, I would like to see either John Williams win it or Ennio Morricone. I think both deserve it. So we're sort of coming up to the end of our spoiler-free section now. There's not a whole lot to talk about in the spoiler section, really, but we'll just sort of round off with our any other positives or negatives we have, and then sort of our recommendation, and then we'll head into spoilers. So, George, any positives, negatives, and then like brief sum up?
I'll just say it's a Tarantino film. If you know what you're gonna get, you know before the film if you like it or dislike it. That's all I can really say, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my positives, it's very well acted. The whole, main cast, the supporting cast, they're all fantastic. The screenplay is on par, not quite as strong as previous Tarantino films, I don't think, but I think it's still, definitely above average of any other movie because it is Tarantino. I think that it is a very slow film, so if you're going in from the trailer expecting sort of like fast action and all that stuff, you're going to be very disappointed. In fact, I think you might actually check out within the first hour. It is very slow, it is very gradual, slow build, which I think some people might not like. But when it does get into it, it gets really, really good. The only problem I have with it, which I'll get into more in the spoilers, is about the 3/4 mark towards the end. I think that it does lose a lot of impact towards the end. It goes in completely random direction that you didn't really notice, and it's very much like Django, where it seems like it's never ending, where it's just like the film could end here, but then it goes on for another half hour. So that's really my only problem. In terms of cinematography, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's one of the best looking films of, I guess, 2015 at this point. So yeah, I definitely think it's worth checking out. If you're a Tarantino fan, chances are you've probably already seen it. If you're a fan of westerns, I would still recommend checking it out for the Ennio Morricone link and as well as the visual style. But if you are sort of a casual film goer, not really sure what to expect, I would give it a cautious recommendation. Just be sure that you're going to be in for a very long movie. It's just under 3 hours. It is 3 hours in the roadshow version. So yeah, just know what you're getting in for.
One of them fellas is not what he says he is.
Move a little strange, you're gonna get a bullet. Not a warning, not a question. A bullet.
So we'll get into our spoiler section now on our Hateful Eight review. Not much to talk about, but the biggest thing we need to talk about, which was sort of alluded to in our spoiler-free section, is the Samuel L. Jackson monologue. You messaged me after you saw this film, and that was the first thing you went to. So if you want to take this one and just go for it, tell us a bit about this monologue.
I didn't expect it, and
Damn right we didn't expect it. It was amazing.
for everyone that's seen it, Samuel L. Jackson's chatting to the general, and they're on different sides of the war, and basically Samuel L. Jackson's responsible for the death of the general's son, and he doesn't just explain how he kills him. He explains what he did to the son. Not only is there some beautiful close-ups of Samuel L. Jackson, like laughing as like evil as you can get, loud as you can get, while telling this story, it then cuts to showing clips of this general's son getting, It's something that I've never ever thought I could hear in film, but it has, and it was the greatest thing, and it's without doubt the only person in the world that could have actually said that monologue is Samuel L. Jackson. I don't think anyone else could have ever done it. But it was so random, it was so bizarre, and it was so beautiful, and that should have got him a nomination for best supporting actor or lead. I'd say lead personally.
Yeah.
But him in this film is just absolutely amazing. At the end, when he's sort of shooting people, he's just laughing in super slow mo, and it's great. Without him, I probably think I'd dislike this film in all honesty.
I would love to see him get a monologue like this in one of the Avengers films. I just want to see Nick Fury to just lay down like to one of the villains how he did all this stuff. But yeah, it just came right the hell out of nowhere. There was no indication beforehand or anything like that. And he's basically doing it to get a rise out of the general because he wants the general to try and shoot him so that he has an excuse to shoot him. I don't know if at that point they've taken the guns away from everyone, haven't they? I can't really remember. I'm trying to think back to it because it's been a while since I've seen it, but I know that Samuel Jackson approaches him, lays a gun on the table, and then delivers this story because he wants to have a chance to get to shoot him. And you're right, it was just glorious. Like, it goes on, but that was great because it just gets worse and worse. And it's not just Samuel Jackson's face as well. It's the look of horror on the general's face as well that makes it priceless. Yeah, the stuff he did to that general's son is... well, people who have seen the film, they know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen the film yet, you're still with us, just wait for it. It is one of the best scenes in a film from last year, I would say. So let's get into the twist. So the whole thing is that, well, during one of the scenes, they're all having soup, I think it is. And then this came out of nowhere as well. Kurt Russell just, like, throws up, like, torrents of blood, which is just glorious to watch. It's amazing. This is where the violence really sort of kicks in the film. And I think another guy as well starts throwing up, and obviously the soup's been poisoned, and the whole question is who's done it. So the twist is that they've pretty much all done it. Like, everyone is in it. They're all trying to get Daisy freed. Her brother is hiding under the floorboards.
And her brother's Channing Tatum.
Yeah. We knew he was coming at some point, and then it's finally revealed, and you sort of, like, take one look and you go, like, is that Channing? And then you realise that it is him. He got a much bigger part than I thought he would have. Like, as you said, like, with the Django link, I thought he was going to get pretty much the same time as Jonah Hill did in that movie. But he gets a little bit more to do in this film. And this, to me, was kind of where the film went downhill. I thought the twist would be revealed at the very end, pretty much like how it is in Reservoir Dogs. I'm not going to spoil that film in case no one's seen it, but there's a twist in that movie as well, which really, really works for me. The twist in this, I think, definitely does lessen the impact of the movie, but we knew it was coming. In any kind of movie like this, the first time you watch it, it's just a completely new experience. You're sort of like just caught up in the whole adventure of it, of the narrative of it, and you're loving it. But I think once you sort of know who it is, I think that does sort of kill dead any sort of repeat viewings on this film.
Yeah, and that's because you know it's everyone, and the whole build-up is, oh, have I seen this guy do this before? But when it reveals that everyone was on it, it's like, okay, so there's going to be nothing wise about how they're doing stuff. The closest clever thing was the blood on the chair, which they cover up loads, and having the general just be a normal person they decided not to kill. I think, I don't know the original ending of the first draft, but I'm guessing that Tarantino made it a group of villains, so his original spoiled copy wasn't the legit one people saw at cinemas. I'd have liked to have seen what the original ending was for this film, but it just got to a stage where when the big twist happens, it's like, oh, okay. And then the final chapter is just the talking, and it's quite boring, and you think something else will happen. But it's like Samuel Jackson's on the bed with Goggins, he's got the gun, I know. But then seriously nothing happens, and the fact that Channing Tatum somehow dies so easily. Like, he's got guns under the floorboards, he could have easily killed them both.
Absolutely,
Someone could have done anything. And it just felt very rushed, and it was just like, I've made it 3 different villains because none of you predicted that, and because I'm Tarantino.
Yeah, I think the film would have been a lot stronger if he'd just had one all-out villain, like mastermind behind it all. I think that would have made it a lot more interesting, but you're right, rushed, I don't know if rushed is the right word, but because it is so drawn out on the other hand as well, I think that the plot is rushed, and that rushed plot is sort of dragged out. That's the best way I can describe it. I would be really curious to read the original script and find out how much is different, because I can only imagine it would be different from this point onwards, because that's really where I only started having major problems with the narrative of the film. And you're right, the whole situation, once you find out that, you know, someone's underneath the floorboards, they're all in on it, this situation could have been like resolved in 5 minutes flat. There's scenes where Kurt Russell uncuffs Daisy while she eats, and then she could have just, you know, shouted. The 3 of them could have turned around quickly. Kurt Russell and Samuel Jackson wouldn't have had much time to, you know, retaliate or shoot back, and boom, it's all over, because the general in the middle didn't really care what they did, because in the flashback you see that he was sort of in on it as well. They said, like, keep your mouth shut, don't say anything to anyone, just sit there. That's exactly what he does. So it was really from that point where I started checking out of the film. I was still interested in it because I liked the characters. I wanted to see where it was going, but that whole flashback, you're right, it was kind of pointless, and I think that it would have added a lot more to it if we didn't know all the ins and outs of it, the whole setup for it. That I thought that bit went on a bit too long. And then the ending as well, like, they're both bleeding out on the bed, and Daisy's saying that she's trying to manipulate Walter Goggins' character to turn on Samuel Jackson, because those two characters had a big feud throughout the whole film. And then all of a sudden, you know, Samuel Jackson and Walter Goggins are both in a very weak state. They're dying, pretty much. They know they're dying. And then it cuts, and all of a sudden they've, like, got Daisy in a noose, and they've looped her around the rafters of the building, and they're hanging her. And it's like, how did they have time to get up off the bed to, like, secure that and hook her over and lift her up and all that stuff? That bit to me was where I started to go, you know, even 10 minutes before the end, just like, this has got absolutely ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's just the ending I just don't like.
Yeah.
The Abraham Lincoln letter, oh, you can read it. Wow. You knew that was going to happen the second he says in the coach that no, you can't read it. You know that they're going to become mates by the end of it.
Yeah.
The more I talk about this film, I think the more I dislike it. And that's really bad, because I liked it when I watched it, but I was so strained while I was trying to watch it. It's just hard to talk about. I mean, there's not a lot I can say on it.
We do sound really defeated from this one, don't we? And I'm not quite sure why, because it's not a bad film by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea that we really didn't like this film. Maybe it's because it's a Tarantino movie and we expect greatness, and then when it's sort of okay to average, it feels a bit worse. Yeah. This is how I felt during Star Wars. Actually, no.
I wouldn't say that. Star Wars is far better than Hateful Eight. Oh, well, that's like that's a different argument. But...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, let's not get onto that. But no, I know what you mean. It was a good film, but for me, it was very much a one and done. And for me, a Tarantino film should be anything but that.
Yeah, it's what you said earlier. There's no replay value to this film.
Yeah.
Normally it's sort of film, but I'll watch it again with my family or something. I saw Django Unchained 3 times inside 2 days when I first saw it.
Yeah.
Inglourious Basterds I had to see twice. I was like, oh my god, they just killed Hitler, and I saw that again the next day. Pulp Fiction, I saw it a few times around my head. Reservoir Dogs and Kill Bills, and then there's this, and it's like, I really don't know if I'm ever going to be bothered to watch this again.
Yeah.
I'm granted that someday I will. I'm sure I will. I love Samuel L. Jackson, but it might be me trying to get the scene up on YouTube, that monologue, because there's nothing memorable except for that and Kurt Russell's death at all.
Yeah, and to me, when Kurt Russell went, that was tough to watch. I would have loved to have seen Kurt Russell in it all the way through to the end. I guess from a story perspective it makes sense, but I would have loved to have seen him to make it to the end with Samuel Jackson and Walter Goggins' character. Maybe 2's the best, though. If they added in more, that would have got a bit too much, I think. But yeah, this film, for me, I can't ever... I mean, I won't say that I'll never watch this film beginning to end again, because I probably will at some point, but to me, this is one where if I do get it, it'll be a case of skipping to the best scenes, which are mostly in the second act of the film. So I guess that'll do it for spoilers. If you want to sort of give any other sort of final sentence on the recommendation for the movie or anything like that.
Watch it. Wait, go watch Star Wars or The Revenant at the cinema, or Creed if you're in England. Go watch them first.
Yeah.
Go wait for Hateful Eight on Blu-ray, because it's got nothing at the Oscars for you to have this immense. I have to see it. This is the downside. Before the Oscar nominations, you think, okay, I've got to see this because it's Oscar season. This is going to be for everything. It's got the standard Oscar dates. But no, it doesn't even have really an Oscar value. I mean, soundtrack-wise, you can actually listen to them both on YouTube for free or Spotify. You don't have to watch the film to see how that's going to win an award, but or you can just go watch Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd still recommend this movie.
I'd recommend watching it, but it's missing the fun and grandness of the others.
Yeah.
there's a lot more films I'd rather watch than this, which is such a shame because he's one of my favourite directors.
And I won't say this is a flop. Like, I don't think this is anywhere near as bad as Death Proof. Jackie Brown I'll have to give another watch at some point, but when I first saw that I didn't much care for Jackie Brown either, but the jury's still out on that one. I'll need to give that another watch at some point. I would definitely recommend this for the big screen because the cinematography is absolutely fantastic in it. The long tracking shots, I think you'll lose somewhat if you watch it on a smaller screen. As I said, the pacing, it's very slow. If you can get behind that, I think you might enjoy it. There is just something, I can't quite put my finger on it what it is, but there is something lacking, you're right, compared to his other ones. I don't want to say it lacks the fun of his other films, because there are definitely fun moments, and that one monologue is enough to save the entire movie, in my opinion. But you're right, there is something missing. I hope his next film, because there's rumours that he's only doing 10 films. He said that quite a lot of times. He only wants to do 10 films and he's going to retire. I know that Tarantino always chats shit, quite honestly, half the time, so he'll probably carry on, but I will hope that his 9th film, when that comes out, probably in 3 years' time, which was the gap between Django and this, I hope it is a lot stronger than this.
Yeah, I hope that the 9th film's the rumoured World War II film about the bunch of resistance fighters of a certain ethnicity killing all of the soldiers that have been racially abusing them for years. That's the film I was waiting for. And that was going to apparently be linked to Django and be some part of Django trilogy. Don't know how on earth they'd link it with 100 years in the future, but that just sounds like something that would be incredible.
Yeah, and I think that they talk about a trilogy, don't they, of something, or a trilogy of films between, what was it, Inglourious, Django, and then that other film. But that would be cool to see, definitely. I know we may have seemed very defeated in this review, or tired, or just whatever. I don't quite know what it was, but you're right. When you talk about the movie a lot more, I think it does sort of fall apart a little bit. That's not to say it's a bad movie. Definitely check it out. If you're a Tarantino fan, chances are you'll probably still get a kick out of it. If you're a casual viewer, I would still recommend it, but I do think there's a lot of other stuff on at the cinema currently at the minute that might gauge their interest a lot more. So, cautious buy from me for this one. So that'll do it for our review of Hateful Eight. It's going to be interesting to see how Tate responds to this one. Maybe he'll just hate on us for being a bit down on this movie, and he would have been singing its praises all the way through. So it'd be cool to hear his opinion and whatever the review is we do next.
Now we're talking.
So yeah, that will do it. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/cinemasavvy, on Twitter at cinema_savvy, and Letterboxd as well at cinema_savvy. Get involved. We've got quite a few more reviews to do for Oscar season, and then we're going to do an Oscars live stream. We'll have more details about that on our Facebook and Twitter pages once we know times for the live stream here in the UK. That's going to be fun. I'm getting through the films slowly. They're very late releases here in the UK compared to the US, so we're also tangling that with that. But I know that we'll have reviews for The Big Short. We'll have a Room review, and I'm trying to think what else there is. There's Trumbo. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Just keep your eye on the channel. We post constantly on our Facebook and Twitter when we get new reviews. There'll be reactions as well. Keep your eye on the channel. Please hit subscribe. Bringing you a lot more content now, and we want to hear from you guys as well. So comment. Let us know what you thought of Hateful Eight. Let us know what you're looking forward to at the Oscar season. We've got an Oscar predictions video. Let us know some of your picks for that, what you think is going to win. And yeah, just get involved with us. So until the next review, thanks for listening.